On this week's episode of the Jesse T Show, the amazing and powerful Keith Hardy, co-founder of WolpaqFPV. Keith, welcome to the show.
Man, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah.
It's been a while, man.
Dude, it's been a little bit. We've stayed in touch. We've known each other for some years, but we've both gotten pretty busy, I think, over the last year or two. Yeah. Children and
new
business.
First little boy.
Congratulations.
Second business for my wife and I. Thank you.
On both fronts.
Yeah.
All fronts.
And I watch your show as well. So
I appreciate the love.
Thank you for having me,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah, it's great to have you. It's great to have you. I needed to have you on the show. You're a man of many talents, and you've done so many cool things. We'll get into what you're doing today with your company that you're building, WolpaqFPV, and all the cool things about that. But just to give the viewers and listeners, we have the show on YouTube, we have the podcast. Consumable everywhere. Podcasts are consumable. Let the world know a little bit about kind of your background, and we'll talk about kind of what got you into what you're doing today.
Yeah. So, my profession, I'm a banker by trade. I lend money to companies that are in need of taking their hard-earned cash and investing it somewhere in the aspect of the business or in new employees, right? So that they need to go to a bank to borrow a little bit of resources in order to continue to invest into that growing business, right?
Yep.
And what's interesting enough is I've been a banker my entire working career, and I've helped business owners solve a wide variety of problems. And like anything, anytime you're helping others do it, I've learned to have the desire that I wanted to do this for myself as well.
Yep.
So WolpaqFPV kind of gives me the opportunity, kind of when I back up to like my collegiate area of study.
Sure.
I was an engineering major at Morehouse College. I was doing the dual degree program at Morehouse and Georgia Tech. I ended up changing my major to finance, however, because I had to borrow money for school.
So you want to learn more about it?
Yeah, I signed this little thing called a promissory note.
Yeah.
And I decided that, hey, I need to maybe learn what I just signed,
Smart.
what I could expect for repayment later on. My family structure, I'm the only thankfully, I guess, the only banker in the family, right? My father is a retired now U.S. Army Staff Sergeant, and my mother is a nurse, right? So, two fields where there's not a whole lot of intimate financial knowledge required, right?
Yeah.
My father said, hey, if you want this money for school, sign here. Mom said, hey, baby, you have done your research. You're a smart young man. You'll figure it out. So I loved my time at Morehouse College. It was a phenomenal school. The switch to finance led to my very first financial decisions I had to make.
Sure.
Was how do I get my degree cheaper? Because this is a wonderful college, but it's an Ivy League school.
Expensive.
Right? So it's expensive. So my transfer paperwork to Georgia State University both saved me money, kept me in state here.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed that experience of being a working college student. In the downtown Atlanta environment where you're at lunch, eating lunch next to guys in the suits that are like, part of the credit offices and the lending and investment offices where young finance majors, hope to one day work, right?
Right,
So it was,
right.
Good networking, kind of good building that professional chops early on. But my thought process really hasn't changed, right? I guess my mother would probably say that my engineering came about from taking apart everything in her house and driving her crazy.
Sure.
I was that kid who, turned over the everything from, if not the lawnmower to the vacuum cleaner. I was in everything, and I was trying to take it apart because I was looking to understand it. And at a very young age, I know how to put it back together? Absolutely not. So it was more
a lot of broken pieces around.
But it's like I started learning how to put those things back together. Then what was interesting for me, is school, you learn so much information in those formative years. But looking back, I remember some key kind of milestone moments for me that I think is responsible for why a guy who works in the finance industry, right, lends money, has a desire to go and build 5-pound unmanned little aerial vehicles that fly at 70 miles an hour and things like that.
It's incredible. I picked up one of these guys earlier before we jumped on air, and I was actually impressed with how heavy they were. I thought they were going to be almost weigh nothing, but they're close to 3 to 5 pounds.
Yeah, and it's well put together. There's a good amount of crash testing and
Sure.
redesigning, right?
Sure.
Just kind of moving parts around to say, oh wow, that broke. Oh,
What does crash testing look like? Is it something that you're doing it on purpose and like trying to like crash proof it, so to speak?
So before I fly, you try to do as best as I can to make sure that everything is locked, tight, set, right?
Yeah.
But hey, experience is the best teacher, right?
That's right.
So occasionally, we'll cut to some video where it's like, oh, hey, I didn't see that tree.
Yep.
The resulting, I kind of do like an NTSB, like airline crash. I kind of go back and say, what failed here?
Yep.
Looking at the pieces that came apart, how can I better adhese this antenna so that it doesn't get clipped by the propeller? This is my second GoPro Hero 7.
Okay.
I discovered that.
How much are those costing nowadays?
Only $350.
Only $350.
Only $350. Yeah, I got it under $50.
$700 in.
Yeah.
just on the GoPros.
Now the good thing is that GoPro has a wonderful warranty program.
Okay,
right?
good.
So hey,
good.
if you break it,
Basically get a new one.
Yeah, get a new one. It's a little money to be paid for, but it definitely makes this activity economic, because if you broke a GoPro and had to buy it all over again, it wouldn't.
What are you spending to make one of these exactly what we're looking at here today? With all in told, not only are you putting in, let's start with the price. So like just to get to this model, and tell me a little bit about these models, like what they do, their capabilities, their specs.
So these are two of the same build. Your goal, and so FPV stands for first person video,
Yep.
right? So if you're not familiar, FPV racing started out back in 2015, 2016. With a multi-billion-dollar investment by a couple of venture capital firm.
Yep.
They decided that they want to take NASCAR and put it in the air. Right?
Okay.
Me and my guys are now part of WolpaqFPV. During that time, I think I must have just been watching CNBC or something, and I see this clip where they're talking about a drone racing league. And again, jumping back, a young kid like build things, take it apart. The idea that there was a league where, I'm a military brat. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. That was my original kind of course area of study. I was ROTC in high school. So the fact that somebody was controlling a little drone that was flying at 100 miles an hour around a track had me hooked.
Sure. It spoke to the engineering, taking things apart, trying to put them back together at a young age, being tied into wanting to be a military fighter pilot, and all those things. I think that it spoke to you. I mean, how could you turn your head away from it?
It rang out to me, and I knew immediately. I said, I want to participate in that. Right now, even what's ironic to this day is I have done less desire for drone racing.
Sure.
I do more drone freestyle, where we're creating unique aerial spectacles. But to answer your question. These builds, they're built in duplicate, because that way if you're in the field, you crash one and it won't
Two
work.
is one, one is none. Old military term. Yeah.
So it's designed to be able to withstand a significant impact, right?
Okay.
In theory, keep flying. We've got some video where I've done that. I've hit an obstacle that I was trying to avoid, hit the ground, kept right on flying again. All in, these are like what I call my generation 2 or 3 build,
sure.
Kind of like Iron Man, right?
2.0, Mach 3.
So the first build that we did, there's a couple of videos that you can link to. It's like $100 drone build, right?
Okay.
And this thing is literally $100. Now, because
doesn't seem like that would go a long way, like in terms of building a drone. Maybe it would, but like
it gets you. It's a pretty basic entry.
Not including the camera.
Oh yeah, it's not including the camera.
Yeah.
So and this is a drone before you ever put a camera on there, because you're not that you are just trying to master the art of propelling an object through air,
sure,
and not crashing, right? So anyway, the first drones we built 2 of them for like $100, so $200 in.
Okay.
These are significantly more upgraded. They've got I can shoot you a link with all like the frame specs on it. But this frame is called an Impulse RC Reverb.
So for those that are listening and watching, these frames are super sturdy. It's a carbon fiber, but it doesn't even feel like carbon fiber, because I feel like carbon fiber would feel like lighter. But it's so sturdy, it almost feels like a metal, like a super strong.
It's the good blend of strength to a clearly
weight ratio.
Yeah. There you go. So you buy the frame, and then you're looking at some of the electronics. The FPV, the main thing you need is, of course, obviously the camera, right?
Yeah.
First person view. So this allows you to see through the camera's lens. You'll notice that it's angled slightly, because in flight you want to be able to propulsion's coming this way, so the cameras are always angled slightly so that it moves along that axis. So
Makes
you can
sense.
see. It's got 4 motors. The slang term for these quadricopters are called quads.
Quads.
Okay. And that's kind
quads.
of it's funny because that's kind of like a delineating kind of discussion point, right? A drone, you've all seen a drone, right? The DJI drones, they're stable. They sit there to take beautiful camera pictures. You know, you see them at weddings, you see them on the beach and things like that.
I lost mine on my first flight, just so you know. First flight, I had one. I had my wife got me one for Christmas 2 years prior to me using it, so just sat in the basement for 2 years.
Yeah.
My nephew at the time, who was like maybe 13, he's probably 15 now. It was a couple of years ago. He came out with me, and it was super windy outside. It was Christmas like morning most likely, and I finally decided to use it because she got me 2 of them, and so I gave him one as a gift because I wasn't going to use it, and then I just used one too. And so I put mine outside, and all of a sudden this thing just like took off, and it was gone. Like we tried to go find it, we tried to locate it, there was nothing we could do, and that was my one and only flight ever.
That's called a flyaway. That's called a flyaway.
That was like the Titanic. The maiden voyage was the last one.
Yeah. And we'll cut to a video where I've kind of got like all the stuff together, but like there's a control station in here. So what happened is your drone lost communication to that control station.
Okay.
That's referred to as a flyaway. So the minute you gave it power, it just took off and it was never seen again.
Did its thing, yeah.
As part of like one of the safety things you do with these drones is like when you're wiring, there's like a little setting in there that the term's called a fail-safe.
Okay.
So it tells you how the drone should behave. If this loses connection to the tower, it will drop out of the sky. I just wanted to fall to the ground.
Dead stick.
Just hit the ground. So camera, a flight controller in here. I'm not quite sure if you can see that in there, but I've got some video of like where we're kind of putting them together. But flight controller that is literally that it's the brain of the flight programming there, linked to 4 electronic speed controllers or ESCs that are kind of hidden under here because I've got propellers on there for protection because you don't want to break those. And the ESCs are wired to the motors, everything wired to the flight controller. There's a set of avionics in here that allow this thing to beam out an analog signal to this goggle. So this guy right here connects the signal from here.
They actually look similar.
See.
Yeah, they look like they meet.
In fact, I bought them in tandem. They're literally this company called TBS that makes these, and I love them. They do a great job. But there's a video transmitter in there that links and sends out information. And I'm gonna give you like the very super easy boiled down version of it.
Yeah.
But the idea is you've got a control station. So this one actually controls the flight of it, control video. And as long as we are working together, when everything's working in tandem, we've got no trouble. Occasionally, I have flown a little bit farther out of range, and I have had video start to drop out a little bit.
What's range for these?
Good question. So the spec build of them is these things can go about 1.5 miles.
From you?
From me. I don't fly that far.
That's incredible.
So there's and within drone operation, there's kind of like different fields of study, like anything, right? So you've got the racers who are concerned, like DRO, they're trying to move lap times as fast as they are. They're very rarely more than like 150, 200 yards from themselves, right?
Yep.
Then you've got freestyle pilots.
Because they want full control of the signal strength. They want to be able to control it. Yeah.
And just it's a race, right? So you're going around this, and your goal is the fastest lap time. You show up at a race, you've got 10 of these things built. One crashes, throw another one in there. It's a pretty expensive
hobby.
It's a pretty expensive hobby, right? Not that this one is, right? My wife has the Amazon shipping receipts to prove it.
I bet she does.
So freestyle FPV, it's designed where you're taking the GoPro, right? Because a racer would have a GoPro in the front of there.
It just weighs them down.
So this is designed so that I can record the footage that I'm creating, right? So it's me, going through a very, very tight obstacle gap, applying power, soaring into the sky like a bird, rolling, diving back down to almost looking like I'm going to crash the ground and pulling up at just the last minute and, using that momentum of that velocity to continue making what looks like an aerial dance. Would be the best to describe it. So that's kind of school of thought. Then there's also guys that are, you make bigger versions of these called X-Class. So they're like 6 foot wingspans, right?
Okay.
Different applications for different tools.
So there's the racing, there's the what you're doing,
freestyle, and then of course you've got your people who desire to make money using a drone, right? So you've got all the industrial applications. You've got guys that are doing commercial real estate or residential real estate like videography.
That's right.
You've got cell phone tower inspections. You've got so many different, and we're just now kind of even breaking the surface on the technology. So I decided to go out and get my Part 107 so that I could legally fly a drone and make money from it.
Now tell everybody what that means.
So what that means is that's a lengthy 60-question test from the FAA.
Okay.
After a rigorous amount of knowledge and training that covers everything from understanding although as a drone pilot, you would never be communicating at an airport. You need, if you have a job working near an airport, you have to understand what they're communicating. So you are basically learning the things, the lingo that pilots are using, understanding weather patterns, understanding how to read sectional charts and things like that, so that effectively you'd be the very base level entry to being a pilot. I know, right? To being a pilot. But the difference is you are yourself. You're not in the quadcopter. You are controlling it remotely.
You're still piloting it.
Yeah, you are. And I'm big on safety.
Sure.
In anything. So the very first thing, thankfully this community is growing, but there's so many guys who do some amazing videos on how to safely construct a drone. How to give you step-by-step guides, how to understand the laws that affect it and things like that. So I always make sure that I'm compliant, right? So I've got my FAA required registration on the drone there. For simplicity, it's a pretty big little sticker there, but I just kind of then I keep all my required paperwork on me as well. So the idea that if this quadcopter crashed somewhere, they could search who owns it, they didn't know who to blame. But that's what I avoid, right?
You were telling me a little bit about, I asked if you had any crazy situations with running into authorities or people telling you you can't fly or whatever, but not so much, but one interesting one where you had a police officer stop you and he wanted to talk about the drone itself.
Yeah. I was flying near just like kind of like an isolated area, a shopping mall that, wasn't in use anymore, and I'm flying, the quad around and I kind of see, a vehicle moving in my general direction. And initially I can't, because I'm so high up, I can't really tell that it's a police car, right? Because it's like one of the unmarked versions, right?
Yeah.
So then, you're standing there and I can hear the vehicle approaching. So I decide, come on in, land. And I take my goggles off and great officer, local county officer, he comes over and he literally says, "Man, you're flying that thing pretty well." We ask questions about the drone itself. And immediately says, "Hey, similar story. I have this DJI Phantom that I crashed and broke the gimbal on it." We exchange information. And what's interesting is because I'm already involved in so many groups as you're learning how to build these quadcopters, I just kind of went to YouTube, Googled the problem that he had with the piece that he broke, shot him a link, said, "Hey, apparently, I went to Amazon and said, apparently this gimbal that you broke is about $100 some odd. Here's a link on how to replace it. Here's a link on how, to what you need." And I said, "But you may not have the tools necessary. Give me a shout, and I'll help you out." So thankfully he was able to kind of take care of it. He got to replace it, and he's back using his DJI.
Small world. You never know who has the experience, the equipment. I mean, and just as a community is really cool. And
it's growing. So many people when I never forget we were at we were flying near my old high school.
Okay.
Stevenson High School, Stone Mountain, Georgia. Right. I'm a military brat, but I've been in Georgia the longest. Me and my buddies were flying. I mean, we were sending things as fast as we can. They have the football fields. So we're looping in through the uprights and things like that. And, as we were kind of getting ready to pack up, there was a family that was coming out that they wanted to use the kickball field. One thing about it, you never want to fly over people for safety concerns, right? But, they were kind of on the other side. We were on the opposite side. We were kind of flying over the football field. But, man, when I tell you the sound that this drone makes, there were about, 10 kids all together running out there playing. And when I tell you 3 out of 10 stopped what they were doing and were just transfixed, their eyes were to the sky.
Of course.
The rest of the kids were kind of like, "Okay, drone,
Yeah.
But so what's interesting, this kind of leads me into some of what my passion is, why I'm doing what we're doing.
Absolutely.
I would have been one of those kids that would have stopped what he was doing. Kickball is fun. I love running around, I love exercise, gosh, but if these kids are probably somewhere between 8 to 13, 14.
Okay.
I would have been that kid that would have stopped what he was doing and did exactly as they did. Kind of came over and asked questions. You know what I mean? We're kind of looking for parents to introduce it to them. You don't want your kids to walk up and talk to the strangers. But they knew it was a drone, but they were asking every question. A kid, how fast can it go? How high does it go? How do you see where it is? So, we had a little set of extra goggles for them. We let them, put them on. And just to hear the kids' reaction as they rode along, just viewing, effectively flying like an eagle, through the sky, they were, they had so many questions, right? Now what was interesting is because of my passion and because of my own background, and now that I'm a father, right? Effectively, I've created WolpaqFPV, and one of the service offerings that we offer is birthday parties for kids.
That's
right?
awesome.
Taking these little bitty minis, we're not going to hand them this bad boy here. This will crack
Can you
mom
fly
and dad's
that one
car.
again? Can you get it?
We'll power it on up.
We're gonna have Keith go ahead and we have these little miniature version drones where he's gonna go ahead and fly it in the studio in the office. And he did this before he jumped on air. So I want to.
And Jess, you get to look along with that set there.
This is
Keith's
awesome.
Gonna power this on.
For those that are just listening on the podcast, we're about to fly this drone, and I'm looking into what looks like a VR headset, and it's going to show me his first-person view, his FPV.
Yeah. All right,
no worries.
I'm going to give you this one here.
Okay.
And because I can fly at what we call line of sight. Oh, I landed right in front of me.
Oh, this is super cool.
Yeah. So
I'm actually, basically, my eyes are on top of the drone.
Yeah, and I'm trying to line the drone up right in front of your camera. So there we go. And these little guys here are like they're pretty responsive, but you can't like really do anything to control the tuning of them. Okay. So these are great for like, again, just getting kids just the experience of just taking a drone, flying around the house. They sell this little kit where it comes with this drone, a set of FPV goggles, and this controller for like $100, right?
That's not bad at all.
And in fact, when me and my buddy first started getting, we used something like this just to simply learn the idea of how to fly this thing around, how to keep power, keep it stable, and that battery's probably about
That's
out.
awesome. That's all good, man. So we'll link even that video. We can put that in the show. So if you can send me that, I don't know if you recorded it. If you didn't,
this one, these won't record.
Okay.
This one records, but I'll
it's
make
all
some,
good,
some
man.
B-roll.
We'll get some video. So now that you're talking about getting into the business side of it, there's also the mission as well. I gotcha.
Thank you, sir.
Like you want to be able to give back, and especially a certain demographic. You mentioned young African American males. You want to be able to help them through your business. And how does that look? Like, what are you going to be able to do to give back to that segment?
Right now, I'm like, my goal is to be the best turnkey solution for a parent, grandparent that's looking for something unique for their kid's birthday party, right? I'll get permission beforehand, but I'll send you some links about a birthday party we did for one of my neighbors.
Sweet.
Had a fantastic birthday party. The kids loved flying these around, kept them busy for hours, right? So the business model is simple. Email me, contact me, let me know what the party you're having, what the event is. We'll kind of come out. We'll set up little obstacles for the kids to fly these, like little racetrack for them.
Yep.
We'll take the time to teach them how to fly them. We'll give them a little bit, we're not going to make it a school, right? We'll give them a little bit of lesson on lift.
Yep.
Some of the physics behind it, right?
That's a good question I've been thinking about. What is a quick study, like someone when they've never touched this equipment before with the remote control or the drone itself, how long does it take for someone to go from?
Yeah, really good question. There's a couple of YouTube tutorials. Like there's some great, like Velocidrone is a great tool to like learn how to fly these 5-inch quads. Also like liftoff. You buy a pretty expensive piece of camera operating equipment, right?
Yep.
This particular set of goggles right here is about $500. My very first set is
the
closer
goggles
to like,
are the most expensive thing.
The goggles and the control station.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two most expensive things. So once you've made the decision, even before you make the decision to get into that portion of it, you can take a regular PlayStation or an Xbox controller, plug it into a PC that you have where you've downloaded the training software, and you can just fly using the controller that you may already have.
Wow. Okay.
And it's at least going to give you the concept of, hey, here's flying in this thing. Here's what it looks like. Now the difference is like once you decide you're going to get into it, I do recommend for people to go out there and get the controller they're going to use early, because now
they get used to it.
You're programming the muscle memory that you need to operate something like this.
Is this the control deck?
Right? Yeah, this is the control deck here. So I've practiced this enough times to know that whenever I give, mid-quarter throttle and I push forward, this drone is going to pop up and take off the direction I want it to go in.
Yep.
So the simulator that you're using, you are just practicing that activity before you probably are in the process of building your first 5 minutes build.
Yep.
But you're definitely practicing before you take out on that first flight. That's why I love like the $100 build videos, because the saying is fly, crash, repeat. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's literally fly.
Keep costs down, learn.
But don't see me and my buddies. We were so overzealous, and I've got we were using like Snapchat to like chronicle our very first drone build.
Sure.
I might have to send you some of that footage too, but like this thing was like a bus. You know what I mean? It was like, it's a 250 build. This thing was like, it flew like a bus. Like you picked it up in the air, and we were just excited to take something that we built.
You created
and make
it
fly.
Yeah.
That's what we were excited for. Right? We followed all the how-to videos. They worked like a charm. And the three of us went out there to the airfield the first time, and we just were flying. The video was terrible, right? Because the components are not, they're inexpensive, but they weren't the best of the best. So anyway, so that really just kind of fueled our desire to keep going. Next thing you know, we were all building individual 5-inch quads, and we meet up, and we together like to do, like I said, we record unique aerial visual spectacles.
Yep.
Wolpaq's 3 main line of businesses are commercial real estate. I'll send you some links. Commercial residential real estate. We'll take a drone this size and a drone this size, and in this video you're seeing right now, we're flying around a cabin in North Georgia. The owner has it on the Airbnb in Verbo. My goal is to be able to offer a service where we can be a little bit disruptive using social media, so that the person not only gets to see your picture of your property, but they get a high aerial view of the secluded nature of it in the woods, right? The little creek that runs.
It's way more attractive to throw those like stunning visuals in with the video versus just a still picture of a
And so we're working now on, local real estate agents. Based on kind of the pricing of the house, some of this would be included. And you're seeing, of course, you're seeing now in the $1 million listings, right? You're buying a multi-million-dollar home. It's all drone aerial video.
I'll tell you, we talked about, I have a buddy I'm going to connect you with. He's local to Atlanta. His name's Ilya, and he does residential real estate, high-end real estate. He does some work with there. But he helped me. We had an investment property we sold a couple of years ago. And, we had the traditional photos and everything. But he actually also did like a walkthrough with his drone, and he did like this. It was almost like an MTV crib style kind of treatment, right? Like, so he had like I guess they called ramps where they move fast, like through a hallway, like a video ramp, whatever, speed ramp. And then he did the pull away from the house and the coming in, and he set some music to it. And I'm pretty sure it helped us sell our house a lot faster. I mean, granted, the market was amazing anyway, but it was worth it to have that extra touch. I 100% think it's a great idea to throw some video and throw some drone work. And for real estate agents or commercial or residential, it makes a ton of sense. And
for a lot of photographers and videographers, they're going to go out and they're going to get their part 107. They see this as core to their business. But for myself, my goal is to be a resource directly to the agents, as well as other photographers who say, listen, or videographers, I'm really, really good at my core business. The upkeep, the maintenance, the requirement, I don't want to be a part of that. So, hey, I could be a subcontractor for those guys, right? So that's kind of like the main core business portion of it, right? The second one is again, unique aerial video. I've been approached by people who own high-end sports cars, motorcycle clubs, right? They want video and photo of them in action and riding. They
want to capture what they're doing.
I was we were at the beach in Florida, and we were out kind of talking with people. And I'll probably link this video here, but it's kind of like just us hanging out, under the tent and things like that. Video flash where I'm actually catching people on jet skis, just kind of out having a good time, right? So this drone, people on there, I actually took this drone and I was able to, it was nerves of steel, but I was able to successfully fly and land this from a moving boat.
Were you really?
Yes. There was a lot of prayer.
Where did you land it?
So my buddy, a good family friend of mine. In fact, we've been family friends with their former coworkers. But they relocated down to Florida. They're still longtime family friends. Charles took his boat out that day, and I was like, hey, I want to join you. I want to bring this drone, and if I crash it in the ocean, it's my fault. But we did a pretty good job of just working together in tandem. Him being the captain of the ship and me physically, flying a drone around it, doing like high aerial.
Where were you standing when you were flying?
I was standing on the deck, the front bow of the boat. And so what made it interesting was landing, because you're trying to land a flying object on a moving object. So normally you'd be inclined to slow down. I kind of had to speed up.
Speed up a little bit.
Just make sure that I didn't fall short and have it. Now again, the drone build, this build is about 400, maybe $500 if I did it out of all. The GoPro is $400 by itself. I got it for $350, but it's $400 by itself, right? So literally at any point in time, I'm just cruising around with $1,000 worth of
just floating
electronics just floating in the air, right?
Man.
Definitely takes a little bit of courage to be able to say, I am going to send this thing out, and I'm going to make sure that it comes back.
Right.
But it was enjoyable, and then I also got they had a relatively new home. I'm kind of cutting the footage down, so kind of like they were able to market and sell their house as well.
That's awesome.
They have a beautiful boat dock, so I was able to kind of fly through the boat dock, around the property, kind of chasing the boat itself and things. But just unique visual spectacles that can be. I put a little bit of music over to it.
Yep.
Some of my favorite, one of my favorite Rick Ross songs is playing in the background there. But then also, I've been approached by some independent artists who want something unique and a different way, for a disruptive way for them to market their own song.
Yep.
On my personal Instagram channel, I have this little, in my YouTube channel, you'll see like these little snippets, about 1 minute to 2 minute video clips where I've taken some aerial footage that I have and I've paired the song that I was inspired to. Because while you're flying, the sound of these drone blades it's a low buzz. It helps me know where it is, but I also have like music play to kind of get myself into the vibe and the flow of it. So I'll take that song, pair it together. I call it freestyle to freestyle. So I'm taking a lot of times hip hop artists, pairing it to freestyle video, put that together. And that, ironically, I've been, tagging like Atlanta, NEC. I've gotten people's feedback saying, hey, I've got this song or this video.
People reaching out to you to collaborate.
Yeah. And it's interesting because my goal is simple. I want to push the limits of this technology. And then the third portion of WolpaqFPV is, getting the young people.
Yep.
Right. So I'm kind of knocking out current. So we see this in industrial applications in real estate already, drone technology. We don't see it as much in like the art. So, I would love to do some music videos. If you see me out there, feel free to give me a call. If you're shooting down here in Atlanta, definitely obviously movie as well.
Right, huge community here for that.
And I'd love to be able to take just some really, really great high-end race footage, things like that, pair together, right? And then, my heart is in talking to the young kids who remind me of me when I was growing up, right? That, like I said, those out of 10 kids that were running onto that kickball field, they all had a great time on that kickball field, but the sound of that drone made 3 of them stop in their tracks and just eyes to the sky. That would have been me as well. So I want to make sure that, so I've been, the kids' birthday parties is one kind of avenue, and as I kind of am working with some people in my personal network, to kind of creating what could be described as a STEM curriculum, right?
Okay.
Because teaching young people how this thing operates and helping them build it, and thankfully in Atlanta has a couple of STEM schools as well, so linked to people who are in that industry, I would love to talk, just anything that could be done to get kids thinking about how to take their knowledge what they're learning in the classroom and apply it in real life.
It's a creative way to also let technology be the tool that it was meant to be versus that all-encompassing, succubus of time. Like a lot of times people look at their phone nowadays and they're saying, it's become a bane of existence. Like they can't put their phone down. They're on social media all day long. Well, if you can flip the script and give them technology that can, get them out of the house or get them to where they're thinking analytically with problem solving, being technical with putting together the actual rigs and the setups, I think that it's a smart way to solve a couple problems all in one.
Yeah, so you see the hat here, right? So this is one of our founding members, AFPV Wolf, right? He is this great brand where he's taking like the sayings that we as like drone freestyle pilots kind of say, but milliwatts on any block, right? You remember the song Milli Rock on any block, right? Very street, very urban. A milliwatt is unit of power, right? So back to your point, kids using their smartphones to be able to break down the amount of electronic output, the power source they need in order to take this drone from only maybe flying for 2 minutes to maybe 3 to 4 minutes, which interestingly enough, that's on your camera drones, those DJIs, they might be able to stay up there for 15, 20 minutes. You're pumping so much power through so many amperes of power through these bad boys that, it's got a 2 to 3 minute battery. Also the unit of frequency that's coming out from the channel that it's on. So anyway, so these kids are having to use some really, really in-depth understanding of radio communication, frequency, power output, and heck, just thrust to weight, right?
Yep.
In order to wire all this stuff together, make it work, you're downloading software on a laptop to bind and to make all the avionics work together, to set the safety protocol, to make it so that when this button is flipped, this motor is armed, right? You're doing all this stuff that is really, it's physics, it's computer programming, it's soldering, just everything rolled into one. and it's problem solving because your very first build, you know, you're gonna power everything up, you did it right, and the thing is just not gonna
work. Yeah,
yeah. You're gonna say,
so
what
frustrating.
Is wrong? But you know,
then you got to work it back and figure it out.
And just the chance to take every, you know, in fact, these builds are the result of countless crashes that have just made me build it better. Yep. Right. So learning something that, like, you know, I never forget, like, one time I crashed and, like, you know, the camera just came dislodged. And I said,
no.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a $40 camera. I don't want to make that mistake twice.
That's right. Did you lose it altogether?
Yeah, the lens cracked. I was, after 15 or 20 minutes of looking for it, we found the camera.
Yep.
Oh, gosh, guys lose GoPros. So that's why I make sure that I have my GoPro bolted down. You know, you have a really, really bad crash and guys will just have straps on it. And there's nothing more, interestingly enough, there's a setting on here that I can turn a beeper so that we can hear where the drone is.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
The problem is the GoPro is 30 feet,
somewhere
40 feet
else.
Somewhere in a grassy field, right? So, and it's a great community because you'll see guys when they have a hard crash, you'll see guys go out and there'll be like 10 or 15 guys out there all searching for this guy.
Search and rescue, yeah.
Getting caught in trees, you know, I'll link some video footage of, you know, hey, every now and again you just misjudge.
Is there a technique to get it down from a tree 80 feet in the air? Like, I mean,
yeah, it's called
climbing.
Two videos, yeah, it's called climbing. It's called the old 100-foot rope with the weight at one end of it, right?
Okay.
Well, a really hilarious video that I have, me and my flying buddy Ken, we actually took another drone, we tied a rope around it, and we used it to go and rescue a drone that was in a tree.
That's really cool.
We had to take one drone, fly it up over the tree to get the rope over the tree, dropped it on the other end, took the rope, tied it together, tied it to the back of my Jeep, put the Jeep in, just drive, just let it just nicely coast. And thankfully, you know, that tree branch just gave it enough friction where we were actually able to get the drone down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
nice.
It only took us about, like, it's funny, like in the Instagram stories, it's like, you know, probably like a 15-minute segment. Yeah. But this is like 4 hours. This is going to Walmart. This is going to go and get the rope. This is multiple tries.
How often are you losing or temporarily misplacing drones at this point? Yeah.
Yeah, we temporarily misplaced a drone this past Saturday.
Did you?
Yeah, we did. We got it now. We're getting better at getting them down, right? We've already got the parts of it. So this one only probably took about an hour.
Okay. So your process for rescue is becoming a lot more efficient.
Yeah. And also, you know, we're just not doing the things that we did. Like, so we're not misjudging like wind, right? You know, this incident, he just happened to just be trying to throw the drone higher into the air, and he God bless him, he made it, but he didn't see the other branch on the way down. So, and it never fails because you always get the drone stuck in the most unique way. Where it's, like, you can try shaking the branch. No, it's pretty well.
It's just lodged in there. It's like, how does it's Murphy's Law is what they say.
Exactly. Yeah. What can and will happen. The one thing, so to keep myself out of the trees, is I've reprogrammed my blade. So instead of them spinning inward, they spin outward.
And it bounces off.
This weekend, I had an experience where I hit a tree branch and it literally just pushed me away. And I wish if my buddy would have done the same thing, we would not spend an hour and a half trying to get that drone down. But it's literally trial, error. There's a resource. There's a lot of very well-known guys. A guy named Joshua Barwell makes amazing build videos. Okay. A guy named called Mr. Steele actually is marketing some of the gear that we call this Ethics brand here. Yep. And so much of FPV, ironically, is in Atlanta. I find that very interesting, right? Atlanta, definitely known for, like, you know, the music. So think like Outkast, Dungeon Family, right? And then to see this
Hollywood's here now too. So music, movies. I mean.
So my goal is to have my little, on my personal channel, my freestyle. You know, I want local Atlanta artists, music here. You know, scenes where you're on a drop top, high end car, chased by a drone, right? You know, things like that. To just really kind of showcase the diversity of the city, getting young black men, black women into a hobby that you know, is very open and inclusive, but just doesn't have as many guys that kind of grew up like me. You know, just from an area like where I would in high school, I would have much rather been hanging out at the after school party than, you know, necessarily doing the extra steady credit for work. You know what I mean? So. Even a guy like me who you know very much knows about the turn up in the city can still research, have knowledge of building something that you personally enjoy, a hobby, and turn that hobby and passion into a way to make income. It's kind of like it's of course it's always the end goal because I need to finance building of all these
for sure.
But you know it's really the ability to do something, create a body of work that just kind of it's appreciated. And this is my first time being in any way kind of artistic, right? Yep. So this is an engineering and finance major's one chance at kind of designing a way to where you can create something that can be aesthetically pleasing and enjoyed by others. So.
And it leads into legacy too, with those that you touch and that you help, especially if you're going after younger kids and teaching them and helping them learn these things and these skills that they can use for life. And then you also talked about setting up business for your son and leaving legacy for him, and like leaving a business as a way to empower him. Being a great dad and someone who's business minded and wanting to create that legacy. And your son, 16 months old now, we talked about giving him the opportunity to have a business, and whether it's what you're doing now with this company or some of the things you have your hand in, I think that it's super important to leave that behind and give them the chance that empowers them.
It's interesting. Thanks for that. That helps me really kind of formulate the answer. The goal is simple, right? Is to get my son to work with his friends and his peer group to take their ideas, put them to action, and have that action, have a system where they're taking money and they're finding a way to plant just like a seed and have a return on their investment, right? So, $1,000 worth of equipment here, $2,000 worth of equipment here, plus the control and the handset, and the ability to have an hourly rate that effectively allows a repayment for that initial investment, right? It's interesting because, when I was becoming a father, and I am a father, like although my wife and I, we had a business before, I became a father, I really realized how important it was for me to teach my son so many things, right? So many basic things. One of the things that I've observed, and you probably have observed as well, in our school systems, that we no longer teach kids the vocational and the economic kind of we take like the home ec things out of the class, right?
Yep.
So what my passion is helping, and it kind of goes back to my own day job. So many times I meet an entrepreneur at their organization, and they're working hard, and they plan to make that leap where they become an entrepreneur, right? And as a banker, I always say to people, man, if I could meet a person right before they made that jump, if I could tell you to, build up that savings, secure personal uses for credit that the business will later on need. And every banker kind of on the planet knows these things, right? So when we kind of go off, so when my wife created her first catering company, I had an accounts receivable for a catering company, right? I'm doing work at a hospital. They promised to pay me within 15 days. Who's going to pay for the meal? The nurse, right?
It always goes out at least 30, 60, 90, some of these things.
Exactly. So because I had already created the financial structure for this company, we could operate like we were, a very large company, right? My wife went out and made the purchases on the business credit card. We paid no interest. We paid it within 30 days.
Smart.
Because the receivable came in, they were able to process that credit card payment or that check, and it was fine, it worked out. So my goal is to teach my son the very same business, both the acumen, but also just to get out there and, there's so many really, really guys way smarter than me talking in business about, not having that fear of failure. Two of my favorite books, one of them is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The other one is George Clayton's Richest Man in Babylon. But the idea is to get young people out here and have them not afraid to take money, invest it in some way, and to completely fail.
Essentially investing in themselves. It's the best investment you can ever make. If you're learning, if you're growing, and success, as long as you don't give up, is one step closer. Failure is one step closer to success. So, as long as you don't quit on your idea, or you can pivot and you can sidestep and make it better, as long as you're not giving up on the whole mission altogether, failure is part of the game, especially as an entrepreneur. There's a lot of failures, but it's not even failure, it's just learning. You have to learn.
Yeah, I really, to your point, I don't really think there's anything as a business failure. It's really just, hey, that did not work. Now we're going to make something that will work and work better.
And that's what makes you better. Like you said, you've done version 3.0, but you've done so many modifications and builds. Each little thing that was a failure was just a learning lesson, and now you're at this point here.
And now we can, now I can rely that will do the mission I ask it to do and come back to me. So, as a father now, I've, my young boy, you're putting so much energy into them, and he is full of energy. He wants to learn. Everything's full of life. I want to make sure that I teach him the skills that he needs to continue being independent. Because this is the most independent baby boy ever. He doesn't even want you to change his diaper. He can do it. He doesn't want you to feed him. He can do it. He may spill juice 90% of the time, but he wants to hold his own cup or his own water bottle, and he'll get most of it. But he's not afraid to get wet, right?
Yep.
And he would much rather prefer that chance to go out there and do it himself. And it's something interesting about being a father too, because you learn more about you. Me watching, literally,
They teach you more about yourself.
I put obstacles in his way, he climbs over them.
Yep.
We try to pin him into the living room to where he can't get into stuff. This kid aligned a set of his toys to where he gave himself, it was a rolling toy that he could use to step up.
Yep.
And it was like a rocking toy that he used kind of to weight the two together. And he put the rolling toy against the weighted toy and used that to hop and leap over our ottoman to escape from like little.
You got to nurture that ability, that talent. That you want to contain it, right?
Yeah, I want to contain him. I want you to stay here.
But when you try to physically contain him, he found a way out of it. So I mean, that's something you got to look at and say that's a talent for sure.
And to keep him, young people to recognize that, again, going back to our opine, right? Social media, they have friends that maybe aren't friends. We're worried about cyberbullying and things like
Sure.
that. What I want to do is, if you think about WolpaqFPV, it's 4 guys that got together to build something that flies. And then now the skills that we're learning is not just to build the darn things, but how to take the video that we record, edit it, color grade it,
Yep.
upload it to make something that's visually appealing.
It's a whole other world. Yeah.
And then to take that skill and then use that to help someone market a commercial or residential.
And monetize.
Right?
And help other people monetize.
And to make, at the end of the day, make money from it, right?
Yep.
So that idea, that's something that entrepreneurship is something that I think that can be taught, but you just have to be mindful of what it is that you're teaching.
Specifics that you're teaching.
And to get the kids out there to try it. We all, everybody's got the bake sale and things like that happening, but get your children have an ability that they can tap into, that they can refine over time.
That's right.
Maybe my son will be doing, maybe we'll be cliched and we'll have like a resurgence of like our old school become chic. Maybe he'll be delivering newspapers with a drone, right?
I think everything comes back around again.
Yeah.
I think the life lessons that you're teaching on the personal side and the entrepreneurship side are things that'll serve him well. And those are the types of things that you can leave behind for generations.
Yeah.
I mean, those fundamentals and skills. But so as far as for you and WolpaqFPV and everything that you have going on there, if people want to find you on social media, if they want to reach out to you to inquire more about your services, whether they're for birthday parties or for shaping and molding the minds of young folks and helping them, how would they find you?
Very good. So personally, you can find me on Instagram. The username avarice, which is the Latin word for greed. Ironically, banking is an industry, right? You're very
I thought
mindful.
the name was Ava Rice.
I know, right?
I thought there was someone named Ava Rice.
It's the Greek word avarice. So avarice 3K7 FPV.
Okay.
So avarice 3K7 FPV. That's me on Instagram. WolpaqFPV. WOLFPAQ.
Yep.
FPV LLC. We'll link probably here. You can find that's the biz. So you'll see just a couple of the projects that we worked on that are more the business facing. So if you want to talk to me personally, kind of get some ideas, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and
slide into the DMs.
Slide into my DM. There you
That's
go.
it.
And the WolpaqFPV, you'll see we're building the other kind of content, the website and things like that. But I like to build it based on the things that we've done. So you see, even WolpaqFPV doesn't have as much stuff on there because it's like the finished product for some of the things that we've done. So yes, connect with me. I want some more challenging things to be able to kind of add to our body of work and figure out ways that we can take drones to create a custom aerial visual spectacle that's something pleasing and aesthetic to the eye, whether it's surveying the top of a commercial building or if it's flying high speed chasing a video for a rap video shot here in Atlanta, Georgia.
So anybody who's in building inspection services or a local Atlanta rapper, please reach out to this man. He's the amazing Keith Hardy. Thank you so much for stopping by and all your time. We appreciate you. Check him out for all things drone related and check us out on our next episode. Take care.